what really was special about Lee and my working relationship was that I always felt that he was in my corner. And that's something that I try to do with my team, for them to feel that I'm their cheerleader and that I'm wanting and willing for them to succeed and fulfill their potential. A really shocking statistic is that only 2% or less than 2% of women can actually access capital to start their own business. And it's even less for those of women from an ethnic minority background. When you're leading an organisation, the stakes are high, right? So I think that's where the humility is really important, because actually...
That was a brilliant Rebekah Capon, and we're going to hear more about her dream and her story in the Someday Arrival podcast. Hello, and welcome again to the Someday Arrival podcast. Now, whether you're just starting out as an emerging leader, or you're an experienced and seasoned leader, we're here to help you change lives, make a difference, and reach your dream destination. I'm Darren Richards, and I'm joined by my co-host Jyoti Patel, who today is wing walking above shark-infested waters somewhere above Australia. How are you getting on there, Jyoti?
Aaron, you've got to talk about your imagination. I keep telling you, this is just, very far from reality. First of all, Rebekah, thank you so much for coming on the show. We're really excited to have you with us, and I'm looking forward to getting to know you, because our lovely audience probably are not so aware of your background, but you're a managing director of a charity called Hatch. And it's really interesting because you're supporting underrepresented entrepreneurs from all across the UK and effectively helping them create and imagine and launch and grow their businesses. And not just any business, but businesses that are sustainable for successful and lasting impacts on their communities. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I think about 90% of entrepreneurs that come through our programs have a social impact, either impact on their communities or an environmental impact, and have faced additional barriers. So at Hatch, we believe that everybody has potential, but not everybody has equal opportunities to realise that potential. So we basically exist to be able to help anybody into entrepreneurship, regardless of their background, ethnic minority, disability, or any other background. We're there to help them on that journey, really.
You are a charity, but you think and act like a business. Since 2014 alone, you've supported over 8,000 UK entrepreneurs and really helped them flourish and build up a vibrant network of partners and funders and investors so that they can share your vision in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. And our partnerships are really important to us, because not only are they funders, and as you said earlier, we're a charity, so we do rely on grant funding and voluntary income. But our partners that we work with aren't just our funders. We see them as key partners in shaping the ecosystem and helping create a level playing field for underrepresented entrepreneurs.
That's amazing. But Rebekah, I think you've been quite modest here. So let me just elaborate a bit more for our audience. So what Rebekah hasn't told you is that they've raised more than £20 million in investment, which is a huge accomplishment and not an easy thing to do in today's climate.
Accessing to funding is one of the most difficult barriers to break through for underrepresented entrepreneurs. So at Hatch, we support through providing the programs and knowledge and skills for people to start their business. We also provide that community for them, because a lot of people don't have the access to communities and networks they need to start a business. But crucially, if you can't have the funding or you can't access the funding, you can't launch your own business. A really shocking statistic is that only 2% or less than 2% of women can actually access capital to start their own business. And it's even less for those of women from an ethnic minority background.
Wow.
And so one of the really exciting areas that we're pushing into as an organisation is being able to support entrepreneurs to access that capital. And just in the last 2 years, we've just launched the Hatch Fund, which we're able to offer entrepreneurs grants to support launching a business after they've gone through one of our programs. So we've got programs plus grants, which is really exciting space to push into.
And I wish I had access to something like this when I was starting out as an entrepreneur, especially being an ethnic woman as well. I can understand that there is that slimmer slice of the pie, if you like, when it comes to getting your business off the ground. So it's really fantastic what you're doing, and I'm sure people out there are so grateful. Where did all this begin? Because I love the name Hatch, and I think of Easter, chickens, eggs. Like, what's going on? Where did this come from? Walk us through that.
It's a great question. And actually, we've just had a team day on Monday, and we're celebrating our 10-year anniversary this year as well.
Happy birthday.
Congratulations.
So we launched that in November it's funny because you think Hatch, you kind of think of an egg. And actually those very early images or logos of Hatch was a little bird in a nest, little shop.
There you go.
And, yeah, so in the absence of those, you know, of being able to afford a designer and being able to spend money on branding and all that kind of thing, that was the very first kind of picture of Hatch, was with a little bird in his nest. But we've moved on from that in our branding. But
you've answered the question, Rebecca. What came first, the chicken or the egg? We now know the egg came first.
Well, I don't know. The first picture was a bird, so maybe the chicken.
Like maybe the chicken.
Was the chicken.
So walk us through the Someday dream, because this is the Someday podcast. So your vision, is it what it's turned out to be, or was it something different when you started out?
So again, really interesting question. We've been doing a lot of reflecting on what was the big idea and the big vision behind Hatch, and it started with just really wanting to make a difference in the local community. At the time, it started in South London, in the Brixton area. Mm-hmm. So I don't think, again, hearing Dirk on Monday when we had our team day, he'd imagined where we'd be now 10 years down the line. So yeah, started out very, very small, some big dreams, and and I think we're pretty on track for achieving where we want to go.
So that's a little bit about Hatch. I've worked with you. I know a little bit of your story. Those who haven't met you won't know. They can know you're female and they know you're a leader. They won't know your dual heritage. I'd love to hear a little bit about your story and about kind of your journey to being CEO of Hatch at one point.
I don't think I had a dream, to be honest, about where I wanted to be. Definitely didn't see myself doing a CEO role or managing director role. I think I've always known what I've really enjoyed, and that is working with people and being able to motivate and inspire to get people from one place to another and get excited about something. I've always wanted to have a career or work in a job where I'm making a difference. And that comes from, my personal background, being inspired by my dad, who started a charity when he was young, when I was about 7, I think. And seeing him have an impact on people's lives and through that charity. So I've always wanted to work in the charity sector and being able to have an impact in the world. And so previously I've worked in international development, at Mercy Ships and World Vision. I loved my time there, and I got to meet the wonderful Darren at Mercy Ships. I've always been in the international development sector, and I've always seen myself staying there, really. So it's happened fairly organically, I think. I've not really had a 5-year plan or built myself a roadmap to get here. But what I really love about Hatch is my values totally align with the values of Hatch. And from lived experience, I've seen that not everybody has the opportunities to realise their potential or to make the difference in the world that they want to make. And so it's really exciting for me to be part of an organisation that does that offers that support, that has really strong values, that is really inclusive and supportive of anyone who wants to put their dreams into reality, but also make a difference in the world as well. And I think that's what really sets Hatch apart, is that the people that we support are making incredible difference in their communities and for the environment and really making their mark. So that's what really inspires me. So yeah, I've had to learn the entrepreneurial sector and all the different language, going from international development, talking about venture capital. Please don't ask me about that. I don't know all the answers.
Dust all that.
But learning a whole new language and meeting a whole new network of people, different partners, different people from all different walks of life. So I don't really know how I got here, but it's been a good journey, and I'm really loving it.
And what have you learned about leading yourself? So you've had quite a quick rise from working, as you say, in charities and supporting supporters. What's that asked of you? Have you had to learn habits and new skills and disciplines? How do you sustain yourself? How do you keep going? Especially the CEO, he's not around for a while. Good luck. Here's the keys type thing. What did you learn about yourself in that process?
Great question. I think the most important thing was to keep learning and accept that I don't know all of the answers. Yeah, stepping into that interim CEO role is such a unique experience because you're a caretaker for a short time. Took on the organisation during a particularly difficult time as well. We'd had to cut our operating budget by £500,000. and make some redundancies. So it was a really difficult time. And then a couple of weeks later, I'm stepping into the interim CEO role. Wow. So really difficult time for the team. In the past, I've been leading a function, as you said, Darren. I've been leading a fundraising team and being responsible for one area of the business. So then moving into a position where you're kind of across the whole business was quite a daunting prospect. So I'd say just accept that it's a learning curve, and I really had to be vulnerable and open to, I don't know everything. But I think also surrounding myself with people that are a lot smarter than me and who cheerleaders, that you can feel like you've got a team and band together and lead together. So one of the first kind of people that stepped into the leadership team when I took on the interim CEO role was a finance director, and we worked really well together, and we were able to lean on each other a lot during those difficult times. But we've been able to achieve what we needed to achieve this year and take the team through it, and there's still lots of work to do. But I'd definitely say accepting that I'm still learning and being open to learn and always learning, but then also just surrounding myself with the team that are experts in what they do, trusting them, and not being the smartest person in the room, but lean on the support that I've got around me, really.
So thinking about what we spoke about a minute ago, you've touched on your dad as somebody that you felt inspired by. Who else in the leadership world has been an influence on your life?
Oh, there's been so many. I think whenever I've applied for a job, it's been really important for me to be led by someone who I really want to emulate. So that's really driven a lot of my decisions, actually, whether to take a job is actually, could I learn a lot from this person? I think, every role I've taken, I've been able to say that. So I've been really fortunate to have incredible leadership that I've been able to learn from. So I guess in the more recent years, I worked at Mercy Ships, where I got to work with Darren, and great leadership right across that organization as well, and really, really enjoyed and learned a lot through that experience. More specifically, Lee Milligan line managed me, and he was the CEO at Mercy Ships during the majority of my time there. And he was an incredible leader. I learned a lot from him. I learned to step continually outside my comfort zone and be pushed to fulfill my potential and grow and learn. But I think what really was special about Lee and my working relationship was that I always felt that he was in my corner. And that's something that I try to do with my team, is for them to feel that I'm their cheerleader and that I'm wanting and willing for them to succeed and fulfill their potential. He's an incredibly confident leader as well. I've always really valued how he can captivate a room and talk about anything, and you would believe everything he says, because he's got this wonderful way of communicating. And actually something that Lee always said to me is to lead authentically, and I've accepted that I'm not that person. I can't go into a room and talk to a large audience of people, and even doing a podcast like today is very outside my comfort zone. But it's about being authentic and be who you are. I'm not going to be a Lee. I'm not going to be, I've got to be Rebekah in my leadership. And I think that's probably one of the most important things I've learned from Lee, and he's challenged me on continually. So I've really valued his wisdom. I'm getting to work with Dirk, and I have done for the last couple of years. And again, when I sat in a very, very small coffee shop in South London for my introductory meeting with Dirk before I took on the role, it was really clear that I could learn a lot from him as well. And he was very approachable, very humble, really appreciated his humility in his leadership. And something that works really well with both of us, that we understand each other's strengths. So we mentioned earlier about him coming back from his sabbatical after I took on the CEO role. And actually it wasn't awkward at all, because I think we'd both realised the strengths that we have in each other. And Dirk is very good externally, fundraising, creating connections with people and networking. And during the interim CEO role, I really realised that there were parts of my brain and my heart that were activated that I'd not used before. And so I really loved having a bit more of an internal focus on the organisation and working more closely with the team. And so we've been able to complement each other. And again, he's an incredibly encouraging leader and line manager. We both have got very open and trusting relationships. So we give each other feedback, and we can have the difficult conversations together. And sometimes we walk away from those conversations not exactly on the same page, but we feel safe having those conversations, and we feel safe in that disagreement. And we get to a point where we're able to move forward. So yeah, I love his humility. I love his openness, and his entrepreneurial nature as well, because we tend to sometimes fulfill the roles of maniac and minder. He can sometimes be a bit of a maniac. I don't think he'll mind me saying that. And I can be too much of a minder.
Maniac and minder. That's like keeping intention, right? Okay.
Exactly. So sometimes, there are ideas or the big scary things, but I need to be pushed into that area sometimes of being more experimental, taking a bit more risk rather than playing it safe. And sometimes I need to bring some of things into his consciousness that he needs to know before we kind of make decisions. So we do actually really balance each other really well and bounce off each other and really enjoy working together.
That's great. And yeah, I think what's coming through is this idea of authentic leadership. Number one, high trust leadership, empowerment leadership. I've seen you at work. You are a phenomenal natural leader. You get people on side. They want to follow you. They feel encouraged. You pop the Prosecco when things go well. You put an arm around them when things go badly. I've seen that authenticity in your leadership. That's the skills of being a leader. What are the values that you think are important? So in the book, I talk about long haul leadership. So being in it for the long haul and having the values that sustain you. What do you think, what personal attributes have you seen or in leaders or in yourself that you think are really important that are going to sustain you as you lead over time and really keep you true to yourself?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it comes back to humility. Again, I think that's one of the values I really value the most. Things don't always go to plan. Sometimes the decisions you make aren't the right ones. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you get it wrong. The long haul leadership is knowing that that's part of the journey, is making those mistakes or not saying the right thing. And so what really anchors me is knowing that that's not just my journey, that leaders have gone through that journey. Mm-hmm. There have been ups and downs and lessons along the way. When you're leading an organization, the stakes are high, right? So I think that's where the humility is really important, because actually being confident in your decisions, but also understanding the impact of them, taking on as much advice and expertise and support as possible through those, whether they end up being the right decision or the wrong decision, at least you can kind of say, I've absorbed what I need to absorb to be able to make that decision. So I think that kind of being humble and not, being kind of centered in that it's a journey and it's a learning experience as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you were saying, that as a leader, you have to get okay with the fact that things are not okay, that things are going to go wrong almost every day. If things are going well, wait 10 minutes because soon they won't be. If things are going really badly, wait a day or two because you'll often find that something good will happen or you'll be able to turn it around. And I think staying teachable, staying pliable, staying humble, I don't want to say agile because it gets overused, but certainly realizing that it doesn't all depend on you and you can make mistakes and you can recover from mistakes is really, really important. And to do that, you have to be humble. So thank you so much. Thank you.
And taking responsibility as well for decisions. Like you say, sometimes they go in the right direction, the wrong direction, but there is an element of accountability, which again crosses into the humility piece that you spoke about. Which leads me on to my next point, which is to talk about a quote from John Maxwell. He talks a lot about succession, and he says there's no success without succession. You talk about the programs, for example, about entrepreneurs designing programs for entrepreneurs, which I think is fantastic. What else would you say is a key thing to help people see your legacy in place?
Like I said at the beginning, I've never really seen myself on a journey to being a CEO or an MD of an organization. I've known what I've enjoyed. I know what I've been good at. And it's been an amazing journey to kind of now be in this role. And what I would like to be able to do is to show that is possible, that you can do what you're passionate about and you can enjoy what you do and you can identify what you're good at and you can move into leadership. Whether you think that you might be a CEO one day or an MD one day, it's hard, right, for women. We're carrying responsibilities. I've literally fresh out of my 8-year-old's birthday party with my hair and very little sleep, having 8-year-olds sleep in my living room overnight. So there are challenges, and it's not been easy, but I would love to be able to encourage other women who want to step into leadership, and to be able to mentor, or be able to just, show how that's possible. And if I can have a small amount of impact or influence in helping someone feel more confident, and learn some of those lessons, then I'd love to do that, just in the way that, like we talk about, Lee has supported me, and other leaders have invested their time into me. So I'd love to be able to say that my leadership has inspired or encouraged other women to step into leadership positions.
I'm sure there are many women listening to this right now who will totally appreciate where you're coming from, especially getting the work-life balance in place, because you're right. There are so many women, and I'm sure there are men out there too, but I see it more and more where people are trying to juggle the home life, the kids, the family aspect, and get their head into the boardroom and have those important conversations, like where the stakes are high, as you said. So I'm sure there's a gap for your kind of leadership that will have a huge impact.
Yeah, thank you. And Sonia, we're coming into land now, and we like to ask every one of our guests before they go, what's the best piece of advice you've been given? I'd love to know, when you started out at Mercy Ships, or maybe when you started out that first day at Hatch, what do you wish you'd known? What one piece of advice, but maybe you get to send one text message back through time to your former self. What one piece of advice would you say, hey, look, it's going to be a lot easier if you just know this?
I really struggle with the one thing, and I think that...
Or one of the things. Let's say one of the things. That's less pressure.
One of the things. So I've already talked about being an authentic leader, and I think that has absolutely been absolutely crucial, and really something I try and center on daily is like, am I being myself? I'm not trying to be a Lee or a Dirk Bischoff or a Darren Richards. I'm trying to be myself. I think being kind to yourself, because actually leadership is extremely lonely. Particularly during the difficult times and during the hard decisions. And sometimes you feel like you are kind of on your own. Feedback comes mostly when it's negative feedback, I think, when you're in a leadership position, versus the kind of, and I think so, learning to back yourself, to be kind to yourself, to draw on the support when you need it, because it's not necessarily going to be obvious that it's there. People always say I'm constantly running everywhere. I just look like I'm running everywhere. And so it's busy. And so I think taking that time to recharge, being kind to yourself, look after yourself, because it can be lonely, and it can be tiring and exhausting, but actually recharging and taking that time and space to fill yourself up and top yourself up is, I think that's probably it.
It's true. If you're not filled up, you've got nothing to give. And it makes sense. Self-care, very important, but very hard to do. So Rebekah, thinking ahead, what are you most excited about that's coming up? And more importantly, what can we do as an audience to support your next venture?
Oh, amazing. Thank you. So as I mentioned, we've just celebrated our 10-year anniversary at Hatch, and we're looking forward to the next 10 years and how we can make a real impact for people who are wanting to access entrepreneurship. And so I also mentioned we've just recently been able to launch our Hatch Fund. So for the first time, Hatch can offer people this programs to develop their skills and their knowledge around how to start a business. And then we've also got access to networks and events and mentorship. So we're able to really harness our amazing partnerships to be able to offer these networks and this expertise to our founders. And then so on top of that, we can also now offer grants to our founders as well. So everybody who goes through our programs at Hatch can then apply to access a grant, whether you're just launching your business and you need some funding to buy yourself a laptop so you can turn your ideas into a business, or whether you're wanting to grow and scale and be able to access markets as well. So we've got funding from every stage, whether that's a small grant to a larger grant as well. So it's really exciting, and we'd just love to support people, whatever stage you're at, whatever idea you've got. We can help you pivot, we can help you test those ideas, and the team are amazing. They're so supportive. We have a real sense of community at Hatch as well. So once you're part of our community and you've been through our programs, we keep you in there and we nurture you and we support you all the way through. So you really become part of the Hatch family. You're not just going through a program, accessing money. You become part of a wider community, which is also really special.
It is, and very valuable. Rebekah, just to be clear, is there an age cap on people who can reach out to your organisation?
Yeah, so anybody from the age of 18 onwards. So if you're over 18, you can access our programs.
Love it. So it's very inclusive. Anyone out there, step into all the business and you've got Hatch by your side. What better way to launch yourself?
And Eva, I would also say, even if you don't have an idea, but you want to create employment opportunities for yourself by going into entrepreneurship is an amazing way to gain employment and to gain skills and to gain training. So even if you don't have an idea, we can also help you and support you to find the right idea for you and work with you on that.
So talking about our future entrepreneurs, where can they find you? How can they follow you and stay in touch and that kind of thing?
Okay, so the best place to find us would be at our website, which is hatchenterprise.org. And you can also find us on LinkedIn and Instagram. We're all over the socials as well. But it'd be great to follow us so that you know what programs are coming up and find something that is right for you. And you can also find me on LinkedIn as well.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Rebekah. Such a wealth of wisdom there and so much knowledge, especially for those that are starting out in the business world. Honestly, Darren, I think we missed out on our generation.
I tell you what, I'm signing up. I'm absolutely signing up. This sounds amazing. You get your money, you get the networks, you get the mentor, you get. I want to know what's in it for you guys, because they're getting a good deal out of this. So what's in it for you?
We get to work with some amazing people. We get to say we were part of that journey. And honestly, they're the most inspiring people. You have people who are running side hustles, working a full-time job. You've got working mums. You've got people who are facing all sorts of barriers to entrepreneurship. And you get to be part of their journey, and you get to see people light up when they're doing something they're passionate about and have achieved something that they thought wasn't achievable. So that's pretty special to be part of that.
Wow. We really want to thank you for your time, Rebekah. This sounds like an absolutely incredible enterprise that you're part of. You know that I'm personally very passionate about people following their dream, realizing their dream. This sounds like it's the toolkit, it's the people, it's the money, it's the networks, it's everything you need. So I hope people do get in touch with you. And we're just very grateful that you've managed to spend some time with us after a busy birthday party.
Thank you very much. It's been lovely. And thank you very much for making this such an enjoyable first podcast experience for me. I've really enjoyed it. And it's been great to meet you, JT, and brilliant to see you as well, Darren, again.
First of many, I'm sure. Thanks. Isn't she absolutely brilliant? Isn't she amazing?
She had so much wisdom and just so humble in her leadership style. She was exactly what she said she was trying to do. It came across in so many ways.
Yeah, she is. And I've had the pleasure of being on a leadership team with her. And she's someone who's able to be right at the top of her game as an executive leader, as a CEO or a director, but she's still got that kind of warmth and softness. She isn't like hard-nosed and businessy.
Yes.
And do you know what I mean? She's someone who's still, it's a privilege to work with her and hang out with her. And so,
absolutely. I can imagine it'd be really fun to be led by somebody like her. So,
yeah, it is. I think our teams always like her and miss her when she leaves. So anyway, thank you guys for being part of that conversation as well. As you know, the questions are drawn from The Plain Parable, which is out now as an audiobook and on Amazon. Really does speak to this idea of having a dream, having a vision, or just the start of an idea and then pursuing that. And these guys at Hatch could help you with that as well. So until next time, thanks for joining us. Please do follow, subscribe, share this with someone, maybe someone you know who's got an idea or the start of an idea. And until next time, remember to make someday today.